All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of the Game Changers podcast. And today we have a young phenom who's doing some massive stuff in the entrepreneurial space, Jaidyn Crasto. So thank you, Jay, for being with us here today. So let's just jump right into it. How are you feeling today, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited, fired up. I'm happy
Excited?
to be here, so it's good.
That's awesome. So yeah, myself, Jaden, we're in business together. We've known each other for like 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years in this business, and a couple highlights about this individual. So he's involved with running an agency that has over 400 contractors in financial services. And I think some of his biggest highlights of his career is he hit $250,000 net cash flow at age 21, right? So that's just next level stuff. And first off, pleasure to be in business with you, bro, on a daily basis. And obviously we're crushing things together, grinding super hard, but even bigger pleasure to have you on this podcast. So thank you for taking time out of your day.
Big time, brother. Super excited to be here. I think I was waiting for this. We were trying to get up to this for maybe last 30, 60 days, but
Right.
now we get to circle back. So
We're just cranking it too much in the base shop right now.
That's it.
Yeah, but cool, bro. Let's jump into it. So first off, like if you want to just talk about your story, like, before business, what were you doing? What were you up to? Your, growing up, childhood, all that stuff.
Yeah, I started off super young. I was at that time like 19, 20 years old when I first stepped foot into business. And I think at that time, I didn't understand any of it, to be honest. I always tell you this too, like the idea of, customer service, sales, being able to explain things to people, leadership, those things seemed very far-fetched for me. But I did like the idea that I could start in this to develop myself.
Right.
And I think that was one of the reasons that we were able to grow at faster levels than I see most people, is because they're so focused on money. They forget about the actual development that's required behind the money.
Right.
And I was just like this innocent kid saying that I'm not even going to make money. My main goal is just to learn.
Right.
So I was heads down focused on learning. I focused on learning skill sets. I focused on learning the licensing material. I focused on learning customer service skills. And like, as that was my main focus, automatically I feel like money just started to kind of come as a byproduct.
Right.
And business and all the bigger things that we have today. So I think anybody today that hears my story, it's nothing special, it's nothing crazy, but it's just that idea that if you're really willing to learn and step foot into something that's new, but come into it with the perspective of not what can I take from this, but what can I give to it, and what can I contribute, and then as a byproduct of my contribution, I will then become successful. That mentality helps you a lot.
Right.
And most people never have it. You see it all the time in our business.
100%.
People coming in saying, Pav, how much do I get paid per hour?
Yeah. They think it's a handout.
Yeah.
Like no work, a lot of money.
Yeah.
But successful people think a lot of work, no money. And then obviously money just, starts to follow
First to
them.
fire rocket, yeah.
What were you doing that time, like prior to getting into business? And like, what was your career focus that time? Like, what were you thinking about your future?
Yeah, it was civil engineering. I was technical minded. I was pretty good in school, actually. I was good in mathematics and at the same time, like physics.
Right.
I think I got like 98% in physics 12.
Okay.
So I was that type of kid. I was really good at what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that was my number one focus. But again, I felt like at that time in that specific career, the future for me, I didn't necessarily see it because I saw people that were working in that profession for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I thought to myself, it's a great profession, but I don't see myself doing what they're doing at that time.
Right.
And secondary to that is the idea of progressive tax brackets. I did my calculations, like in today's world, where we live in British Columbia and Canada, if you look at, the tax bracket system, it's crazy. Like, after making 100,000, you go up to 150 and 200,000, your net income is not what you think it is.
Right.
So I kind of understood early on, I need to do something for myself to have additional flow of income. And this fit very well with that. At the same time, the component of being able to learn new skills. So together, it was pretty cool.
Right, for sure. Who were some big impacts in your life growing up that you really look up to and that shaped who you are today?
Yeah, I think my dad, for sure. Definitely my dad. I used to see him go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And come back at 2 p.m. in the afternoon and then pick us up from school, barely take like a 30-minute nap on the couch, get up, then start making like, evening dinner and then take us to our evening activities. I used to play soccer. I used to do swimming. I used to be involved in a lot of different extracurricular activities, and so were my sisters. So imagine managing 3 kids while doing all that. And then at the same time, my mom, she has amazing work ethic as well. Both of them do, actually. She used to wake up super early, went straight to work, came back at 5 p.m., and then she used to help us with all our homework and then prepare all the other areas of the house. Like, I remember her always being on the phone. At the same time, she's like cooking. At the same time, there's like something going on outside, and she's managing all those things at once. And if you blend that in, like with a young kid, to see both of your parents working at that high level consistently, I was like, wow, like my life, I have to learn how to work hard.
Right.
So I think I just developed that from them. And today, if we look at our organization and we look at our company, sometimes, people take their laptop out, and after like 2 hours, they shut it down and they're like, whew, and then there's like example, I've seen the way that you work too. It's like 12 hours of the day have gone by. You started at 9, it's like 9 o'clock at night.
Right. And
you're like still ready to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's just your level of work ethic.
Like, I think our laptops hate us.
Yeah.
That's how much we use them, right?
And other laptops have a dust on them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Going back to, like, so obviously your parents grinded hard. Immigrants came here, worked super hard. Like, for a lot of people listening on this podcast, that's a lot of stories. Yeah. Right? A lot of people's parents, especially if they're born here, like the kids, their parents came here from a different country and, worked. And this is something that I think is sad to see, is like some parents are still working and the kids are like partying and out till like 4 a.m. and, not having the desire. Obviously, you had a big desire. Like, you saw your parents, like, man, I got to get these guys out of their jobs, because I know now your parents are, pretty much like in the business because they're work from home and financially doing very well because of everything that you've done, which, by the way, major respect, bro. Like, seriously, that's a big deal. Message for people listening, like, why they should take charge and, take action and get their parents out of their job, dude. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, I've seen, like, second generation kids, like, their parents are literally working their jobs and they're like struggling, and the kid sitting on the couch says, Mom, like, what can I eat?
Yeah.
And just laying there, and then goes out, does whatever, comes back, says, Mom, I need money.
Right.
And like the parents are like struggling.
Taking line of credits,
struggling, like arguing over money. They're frustrated. They're like looking for coupons to use to be able to afford certain things.
Right.
And then there's these kids that are like demanding, like, okay, I need this and this and this. Like,
I need this car.
Yeah. So,
and they're mad. Like, man, Jay, my parents started buying me this car. Like, I'm so choked.
Yeah. So
Dad's working at a mill. Like,
it's crazy. So anyways, I think that comes down to, again, that mindset of like, looking at life in a perspective that what can I give? What can I contribute versus what can I receive? And these kids wake up every day like, what can I get now?
True.
Right? Yeah. I deserve this. And again, like, no matter how that materialistic thing makes you feel in that temporary moment of, let's just say I got my game that I wanted, or I got the, car that I wanted, whatever, like, there's always going to be that inner feeling of something missing.
Right.
And I can remember this really well. Somebody asked me before, like, Jay, you guys work so hard. And, you obviously grew up. This is a major topic, by the way, which I wanted to talk about myself on one of these. But think about it this way. We have families that are very wealthy, like families where their parents own businesses. They have a bunch of net worth, etc. And then you have the children of that generation that then get to inherit that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes if you look at us, we're like grinding. Like, I grew up in business 7 days a week, 12-hour days. Still till this day, like working like mad people.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like they're still like over there, some of them, because of obviously their parents have done very well.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, like that's unfortunate for you. But at the same time, if you look at those children and you look at their lives, they have a huge gap where they actually didn't necessarily earn the things that they have.
Yeah. And
that feeling then leads them to doing other things that don't give them true fulfillment.
True.
Right? And that's where I feel like some of them have ego. Some of them have, anger issues. Some of them have, other problems that are crazy too. But it's because that inner feeling of, they never actually developed themselves and earned some of the things that they're looking for. Whereas on the flip side, yeah, it's harder to start from scratch. It's really difficult. And sometimes you look at other people around you and like, man, how come we had to start from where we started from? But at the same time, like, feel grateful, because when you do achieve success, it feels so much better.
Big time.
And what is our life? It's a bunch of emotions and feelings.
Yeah, true.
So at the end of the day, like, you know, after a certain percentage of, I think, cash flow per month, and you can buy food and you can buy materialistic things without checking your bank account twice, then what does it really come down to? It comes to feelings, emotions.
Very true, yeah.
And right now it's that what's driving me like crazy is waking up every day and that overwhelming feeling of like, I want to win. Like, you know, competition, like driving force of look at where we came from, look at where we're going.
Yeah.
How many people can we help do the same thing?
So
how
true.
many kids are there out there that they're, you know, in school looking at all the wealthy kids and they're thinking to themselves like, man, how come I have what I have? But then you can show them that like, dude, you can actually build something for yourself, and you can go times 5, times 10, times 15 and feel better.
Wow.
About what you're doing. So, you know, both ways. But again, I don't want to say that specifically towards like now any family that has built net worth, that it's not as significant towards their generations. Heck, God bless them for what they've done.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to shine light on a different perspective, empowering people that don't have that as well. That's also a gift.
Big time.
You
Big
know,
time.
so yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to get off my chest.
That's first off, if you're listening to this, like if you're wondering how to achieve major success, that is the mindset of a 25-year-old making 60, 70, 80K a month. So it's about what you think about. That's going to lead into your actions on a daily basis, and that's going to eventually lead to your results, which is powerful. And no, it's true, bro. It's very, very rare that you'll find somebody from a very wealthy background that still grinds hard to achieve more. Like most people who become super successful come from like average or, you know, like, you know, rags to riches stories. Why? Because they have like a chip on their shoulder. Like, you know, I got to do something for my last name and so on and so forth. So no, crazy mindset. I think for the viewers, that's like next level mentality. So how did you get introduced to WFG, Wealth Builders University, financial services? Like what's the story going on there?
Yeah, I had a friend one day who told me, you know, to come check it out. And I was kind of hesitant at that time. I had a lot of other associations that were also doing the business. And I heard about the name out there. I was pretty confused about what the heck was going on.
Right.
And funny enough, one day, he actually told me, he's like, Jay, let's go to the gym.
Okay.
And can you believe this? It's 2 p.m. on a Sunday. And I'm like laid out in my bed.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, like, let's go to the gym. And I was like, I don't know, you know, I'm kind of lazy today. And he's like, bro, like, come on, man, let's go, I'll pick you up. It's like, okay, sure. So get out of the house, go into the truck, and we're driving. And I'll never forget this. You know, when we came out of our intersection, if you take a right in my old house, you go towards the gym. And that was our community gym that we all went to.
Yeah.
And then if you go left, you're going like completely in the other direction.
Yeah.
And obviously 90% chances you're going to end up at that office.
Yeah.
And this kid goes left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he just starts smiling. And I'm like, man, like, what's going on? And he's like, no, just come, just check it out. Like, go, you know, sign some papers or whatever. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. I walk inside, and that's where my entire life started to change, man, because I sat in front of, at that time, was one of our trainers and mentors as well.
Yeah.
Today he's an executive, but at that time he was still transitioning from running his accounting practice into running this business full time. And spoke with him, and he started talking about 6 figures, and he started talking about my future and my life. And I just got inspired. Like it really spoke to me, because nobody ever talked to me before about 6 figures or about what my future goals and dreams were, or how to actually achieve them. And he drew out a bunch of stuff. And then I had another really good friend of mine, Rajan, at that time. He walked in at the same time, and we went to high school together. And then I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, this business is really good. You should check it out too.
Yeah.
Crazy to see from that room, like what happened over time. And now today, obviously, Rajan is where he is, Paul is where he is, and we are where we are, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was a very good example of being inconvenienced for your own convenience.
Yeah.
Right? So guys, if you're ever invited to go to the gym, You might end up a multimillionaire, right?
Crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. What were some initial challenges that you feel like you faced in the business?
Good question. There are so many. A lot of it was my own inner lack of personal development, right? I just thought the wrong way about everything in my life. So, for example, you sometimes come across adversities and you first look at those adversities like, this is against me, this is not for me. Because remember, what do majority of people do in today's world is they quit.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that they start, they quit.
Yeah.
And excuse my language, but that shit pisses me off because it develops this mentality where you don't blame yourself. You start to blame everything else around you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, let's just say they start going to the gym and then they'll be like, oh yeah, I realized that the gym actually is not that good for you. It's better to play a sport.
Yeah.
And now they start playing a sport. But if you really look at, are they playing the sport? They're not playing nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when you ask them like, oh, what happened to the sport that you're playing? Oh, that sport, Pav, is just, how it is, man.
I don't want to injure my knee.
Yeah.
So
And
I
like,
changed.
I talked to this one guy and bro, like I tell you, stay far away from that sport.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so now what are you doing? He's like, oh no, he told me the supplements is the way.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the heck's going on? Like,
Right.
Similarly, I think in this business, I'm so lucky that I took a stand in the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but it took me a lot of good mentors and associations to understand that all those adversities that almost led me towards quitting, actually, when I stayed and I stuck through them, they then helped me prosper
Mm-hmm.
times 10, times 15, than where most people, the same adversity, they quit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's just looking at adversities and challenges as of something to grow you.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this the other day too. It's like any problem that you seem to have in your life, a well-explained problem is most of the solution to the same problem.
Wow.
Right? So let's just say, for example, I felt like I was struggling, let's just say financially when I first started, because all my friends were working their full-time jobs and getting paid per hour. And I'm in a business that you only get compensated when you generate volume.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't generate any volume.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like feeling pressured, and I was thinking to myself, like, everybody else is around me and they're all succeeding. And then I started to think to myself one day, like why are they able to go out or, spend money, and why are they able to have income coming in and I'm not at this point? Because that makes you feel low. But when you write that down on paper, it's because if you study business owners, the average business owner right now takes at least a couple years to make some type of profit in whatever they're building.
Right.
If you look at the CRA in Canada, they don't charge you taxes on your first couple years of business.
Right.
Even if you show negative loss, you can still write taxes off.
Crazy.
And that's like, you didn't make any money, but you can still claim tax write-offs. How
Right.
does that make sense? It's because they understand that businesses take time to develop. So if the CRA is supporting it factually, if you have read books about the most successful people, you watch any entrepreneur today and you follow them, and you also have mentors in your life that are telling you the same thing, logically, it's okay to have a blank page in your first year, second year in what you're doing. And in comparison to other people out there, in the beginning, it might look like they're so far ahead, but in reality, when you study business owners, look at where they end up after 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and then you look at, kind of a linear graph of somebody else, it's much different too.
That's so true.
Right?
You would say like the way you think about events that happen in your business is really like the differentiator between challenges and like challenges.
Yes. And well-defining problems. Like
Right.
anything that you're facing, if you can actually define it into detail and write it down, you'll start to realize that problem is not even a real problem.
Right.
The solution is right there.
It's just overthinking and like running around rather than just going through it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's a good, very, very, very good mindset. So like what's kind of your day-to-day right now? Obviously you're leading a big organization. You're still grinding super hard. First off, what are some habits that you feel are like very, very essential for anybody to perform at a high level in business?
Yeah, I'll tell you today.
Okay.
Because today is like most days. Today I woke up at 6:20.
Okay.
And my alarm was for 6:30, but I woke up at 6:20, so that was good.
Okay.
If you ever wake up before your alarm, it's a
Right.
good day, right?
Right.
So yeah, I just woke up, immediately jumped out of bed, took a cold shower actually this morning, something that I'm incorporating recently.
Nice.
But normally I honestly never really did that, but it's good to shock your system.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Just had some water, was kind of just fiddling around with, some things in the kitchen, whatever. Got out of the house and then went straight to the gym. And on the way to the gym, listened to a podcast.
Okay.
Right away, since I was in the gym, I was in there with my trainer today at 7 o'clock. 7 to 8 o'clock was no phone. It's just like you're in your zone.
Just getting after it.
Just getting after it. And really focused on, my body, my health. I was asking him some important questions about, dieting and those types of things. So I try my best in the first hours of the day to just think about my body and my health.
So nothing to do with the business or finances or anything, just yourself, focus on your own mind.
Big time. And that kind of just gives me the clarity that now for the next part of my day, which is majority of the day, I'll be doing into my business. But at least I took care of my health 100%.
Yeah.
And get straight into it, head back, listen to a podcast on the way back, do a prayer, and then right away eat, shower, change, and get straight into it. That's it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So just simple routine. When do you sleep usually?
I've actually, and add on to that, like every individual is different. Like you don't have to be that person to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and start doing jumping jacks and jump into a cold plunge and then
like what people see on Instagram.
Yeah,
like nonsense.
I mean, if you're doing that, that's awesome, and chances are you'll probably get further ahead than most people. But the reason I never believed into that is because I saw a lot of people doing that stuff, but they never did anything else.
Right.
So they did all that stuff.
Yeah. No
and
results.
They got so good at their routine stuff.
Right.
But they didn't actually transfer that into quality work.
We know people like that
on
a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, bro, I went to the gym at like 5:54 a.m. today and did this and I drank cold water but you got no results.
But you got no results.
You'd rather get the results and then figure the other stuff out later.
Yeah.
Then figure out that stuff and then figure out the results.
Exactly.
Because you might be going broke figuring out, that kind of stuff. That's
and
crazy.
I've always just lived like in a very like simple morning routine, man. Like there's days where, let's just say, and you know how it is, sometimes we leave the office or end our last call at like 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, now I got to eat.
Yeah.
And then by the time you actually close your eyes, it's like 12:30.
True.
Now, if I decide to wake up at 6 o'clock the next morning, that's going to then affect my entire day.
Yeah.
Where I can't perform.
Right.
So I would rather sleep until like, let's just say 7 or 7:30, wake up at like 8 o'clock, and then maybe do a quick workout for like 30 minutes because I can't afford that much. And then by 9 o'clock back to the Zoom station, 10 o'clock ready to start actually killing all my calls, etc. So I would prefer having that day versus you end at 12:30. Now you're like cranking yourself to get up at 6:30 and you're unable to perform because in your mind, you're exhausted, you're tired, and you don't make the same phone calls that you would. You're lethargic and lazy on phone calls and on your team calls. That to me plays a bigger loss than you actually sleeping a couple hours and missing out perhaps on waking up at the same time.
Right. That's so true.
But that's my perspective.
But usually, generally speaking, like when do you usually sleep? Like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, definitely. Around 10 o'clock is when I try to shut everything down.
Okay.
And then my best is to get to bed by 10:30.
Gotcha.
And that's it.
That's solid.
Yeah.
What about your diet during the day? Like business athlete listening to this,
I'm sorry to, like, you know how my thought process is. It's always lost on the last thought.
No, that's good.
Because it's like there's a loading time. Like when you ask a question. And in like 5 minutes into the question, that's when I get into deep stuff. But you asked about sleeping. Yeah, I learned this from actually our mentor as well. Like nothing good generally happens
after 10 o'clock.
After 10 or 11 p.m.
Right.
So all the nonsense tends to happen. That's when the movies come out.
Yeah.
That's when you start calling people or whatever, all the crazy stuff. So I really, really digested that pretty well.
Right.
At that time. This is like when I'm like in my early
6
20s.
years ago. 7 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and it made sense.
Yeah.
And it happened all the time. So.
All the wrong stuff, any stories you hear, it always happens after 10 o'clock. So message for the listeners, like, guys, in business, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock, right? Like nothing good at all. So, that's a very good point.
Yeah, so at the same time, like whatever you're going to do at nighttime is never as worth it as what you could do in the morning time.
True.
Like no matter what you possibly think that is important at that time,
right?
It's way more powerful to do something productive in the morning.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
What would you say are some key breakthroughs and life lessons that you learned from business at a young age?
Wow, I learned everything like all through this business model because of our mentorship. So
Same, bro.
um, I learned all of it, man. Coachability, discipline, focus, intensity, urgency.
Right.
Like it just all wrapped into, like, I don't want to just praise our business model and be biased towards it, but heck, like everything just fit into it because it'd be like, okay, Jay, like if you want to generate this much sales volume this month and you want to build up your team to this size and you want to get them to perform at this level, I can't do any of that stuff if I don't wake up early, if I don't go to sleep early, if I don't practice good things. Like example, let's just say you're learning urgency in business.
Right.
Like if I want to hit my numbers by, let's just say, the 30th of the month, realistically, we know we should have our targets hit by the 10th of the month, 50% of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you hit 50% by the 10th, automatically you're on pace to actually outpace your target.
So true.
But at the same time, your work ethic then aligns with hitting the target that you're looking for even more.
Right.
And then that's how you have a smooth month versus like on the 20th of the month trying to figure stuff out and now you're like chasing and that never works. So that's where you learn urgency from. That's where you learn hard discipline from. Like if it's the 8th of the month and I'm like not even 30% of my goals done when I'm trying to hit 50% at the 10th, do I have time to go out on a Thursday and, sit at where, any of these restaurants and just like, no, I can't because I can't afford to. I got numbers to hit by the 10th, right? So it just kind of paired up everything into this business model.
We just got to go deeper into that because, Jay, one thing I feel like we really, really excelled and dominated at was numbers mentality.
Yeah.
Like we see so many people like motivating and inspiring and we go, like if we were to go ask them like, so bro, what's your plan for these next 10 days? And they'll be so lost and confused. Let's just talk about numbers mentality real quick. Like in any business, for anyone listening to this podcast, how important is it to know what your goal is? Like I'm going to do this amount of sales, I'm going to do this amount of recruits, whatever licenses this month, and break it down into 10-day numbers, daily numbers, hourly. Like if you want to just go into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think emotion versus logic is what I consider that to be. So have you ever heard people that are just so emotional about various things? Like, I feel like this and I think this is going on and, oh my gosh, I feel like, and they're just so caught up in their emotions. But realistically, what happens in those moments is only the logic
is missing.
Yeah. So similarly in our business model, it's like you can be doing everything that you want to do. You can be waking up early, going to sleep early. You can be, doing a million calls and everything. But realistically, if you're not actually attaching to the things that you're doing to numbers and playing a logical game, then you're going to spin around in circles.
Right.
So I think I really encourage anybody that's in the business world to start fighting for numbers in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Have like mathematical equations and
reverse engineering
things that you can hold yourself accountable towards to make things make sense. Like A plus B should equal C.
Yeah.
And if you don't have A and you have half of B, then don't expect C. Don't get emotional because C is not there.
Yeah.
So we've dealt with some really hard things in our business, like people that have turnover rates and all crazy stuff. But in those areas, we always have to move all the fog and then we have to sit down with each other and we have to be like, okay, well, factually and logically, this and this and this happened. How do we fix it? It's all logic, not the emotional stuff behind it.
So true. Emotion isn't going to build a business.
Yeah.
It'll drive your energy and, your drive towards business, but ultimately numbers build a business. So what other mentalities would you say are important in winning? So at the end of the day, like it's a competition. Any business, anything in this world, quite frankly. And you're a performer, you're a big time champion winner, world-class individual. So obviously you have some areas, some mentalities towards winning. Like at the end of the month, maybe you look at the numbers, what are some mentalities you've adopted that are helping you that are helping you win on a monthly basis, daily basis?
There's one thing that I learned in our business model specifically, and you can probably compare it to many others out there too, which is nobody is as big as you think that they are. And what does that mean? It means that, in our business model, You have like we have a leaders bulletin and all that type of stuff, right? So when I first started and through the years, I always used to look at that and I used to get so frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my gosh, that person's making X amount and they have this many, licenses in the organization. Like, how is it possible that we could ever compete with them?
Right.
But at that point, what I realized is if you can actually logically beat them in the smaller things, you can then come and beat them in the bigger things.
Gotcha.
So, it's hard to illustrate that without actually going into depth about our business, but you know what I'm talking about.
So
if you
yeah,
meet them in like personal numbers, then team numbers, then super, and you can crank up anybody
right
in this organization. So I think bringing that mentality back to where all of us are as well. Like, let's just say I'm trying to work inside of a business model of, owning a gym. And then I look at, Gold's Gym. I'm like, wow, that company's huge, man. Like, how can I ever compete with them?
You can.
Well, you can.
Yeah.
Because you can start beating them in the small things. Maybe they're such a big organization that they don't have personable things anymore. And you can start beating them. Like, now you're the most personable gym on the block.
Wow, true.
Right? Okay, now second to that, okay, now you look at the customer flow. Okay, well, you got to understand that their gym might be at capacity, right? So maybe you can come up with other ideas that can then outpace that capacity for that one location. And then maybe they have another thing where, at the level that they are at now, maybe they have a bunch of fees and they have a bunch of things because they have a big organization that they need to manage and they have all these staff that they need to take care of.
Right.
Whereas you're like you can do a lot of the stuff yourself and you can delegate it to certain people and cut costs in certain areas.
Right.
Now you have a cheaper gym than them. Now it's more personable than them. And now at the same time, you're doing things that they can't do. And if you keep doing that over a period of time, you just start fine tuning areas that other people aren't doing that are bigger than you. You can blink after like 1 year or 3 years and you can be very close to them. And I'll never forget this too. Like, when you're developing yourself in whatever you're doing, initially people will like be very friendly with you because you're not
a threat.
So It's like, hey man, oh yeah, Drew, wish you luck, man. The gym business, you should definitely get into it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome. It's wonderful for you. But then when you actually start to develop it, now it's competition. Right now it's like, oh yeah, well, your gym is like at this and our gym is like this.
Yeah.
And they start talking to you differently. And then the third stage, which I believe happens as well, is you beat them. And when you're beating them, now they're your worst enemy.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. We've experienced that in our business for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's only going to take off from this point, right? Any words of wisdom for new entrepreneurs out there, like right now?
Yeah, I could say that what I see in today's age is crazy, man. Like,
you think it's easier to win now?
I think it's so easy to win.
Same. I think it's easy to win too.
And I do think it's just about eliminating all the bullshit in today's world. Like, excuse me for saying this, but like, some people are sitting there on their computers, like playing video games for like 12 hours a day, living in a fake reality at this point.
Crazy.
Some people are, so obsessed with social media that like they're living on Instagram and they're working their jobs to then have their break to then check the feed that they missed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure, bro. Like, for sure.
Some people are thinking about what other people are thinking about them so much that they haven't thought about themselves improving to then change the thought about what other people think about them at all. And they just keep deteriorating over time because they're so... Like, you got to just eliminate all that type of stuff, man. Like, get logical in understanding that, time's ticking. It doesn't matter how young you are. You can blink and you can go from 20 to 25 to 26. And you need to get serious about your life.
Right.
Like, if you think that it's going to magically happen, it never does. It's intentional. And I do believe that right now in the business world, it's easier to win ever than before because of technology, proven system models. Heck, I never saw something like this when I started.
Right.
Like, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Like,
we didn't have mentors like this. Young guys that are killing it, sharing the knowledge, telling people what to do, right?
It's just to see where our company is now and the things that are incorporated, especially from like all the way down, like from a company level to like our organization level to our leadership levels. Like, we're so blessed. and it's just the fastest time to take this thing to the next level.
Right. No, for sure. Any words related to people who are in businesses of recruiting, like that are able to expand their business, and why it's like the best model ever, and why you can totally buy your life back with time and just be free?
Yeah, because you can never compete against a model that is multi-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So remember this, like you can work 8 hours a day, you can work 15 hours a day, but there's a capacity to how much you can work.
Right.
And if you ever listen to that Steve Jobs
Yeah.
cut, he talks
Building the
about
team.
building a team. And if you look at Amazon, what did they do really well over time? They built an
Build a team.
incredible team.
Yeah.
You look at any sports organization, the individual athletes get recognition, but the teams, people love to watch the teams getting recognized.
Right. So
Because
true.
that's where celebration, that's where inspiration happens.
Right.
That's where you see new faces. Like what's a really good team is the new faces consistently winning.
Right.
And people love to watch that.
Right.
Like, wow, where did this guy come from? Oh, this person got traded. Wow. And that idea of a team, unity, just inspires people. So I would encourage you, whatever business you're trying to do, try to build a team. Try to build a team
within
faster.
that industry.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously that's a skill, right? Like you were never a crazy team builder, a crazy recruiter. I was like horrible at recruiting in my early years, not just days, weeks, months. Like it took years for me to get good. Obviously you understand things are skills, right? I understand things are skills. Like any words for the audience on why things are just skills and working on them day by day by day will make you better and better?
Yeah, everything in life, I think, is a skill. And if you can learn it, then you can then master that area. So instead of, like, remember that, like, God always made us all the same in terms of our abilities within. Like, he never said, okay, Pav, you're going to go out and doing this and this. And then Jaden, you're going to go out there and you're going to do this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that our personal development and our ability to work in skill sets to then improve our areas that we're lower in, then gives us that upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you think that you're only capable of doing what you're doing today, that's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to first work on yourself to increase your belief systems. When you increase your belief systems, you'll start fixing those lower areas in your life automatically. Why? Because confidence winning in one area will lead you confidence to win in other areas.
True.
Right? That's why the smaller things, like, people are probably looking at this sometimes like, man, why did these guys talk about going to the gym?
Yeah.
But you don't understand, like, when you freaking start lifting a 10-pound dumbbell and then you move it into like 70 pounds of a dumbbell, that has a big influence on your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel like, wow, like, you know, self-confidence. If I did that, now you think about that improvement and then you compare that to freaking talking to somebody about a business. It's like, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece of cake.
Right.
Because you've just accomplished that. So start accomplishing things, small things, and then that improves your inner belief systems. And then you can leverage that to then improve the bigger skill sets that exist.
So kind of like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah. And
It's crazy.
it's so funny, but like you can win at extremely high levels in your life just by fixing small things.
Yeah. So true. Just
The
by
smallest
fixing what
things.
time you sleep every day, wake up, what you eat on a daily basis. Like it just goes into everything.
Another thing is character.
Right.
Like who you are as an authentic individual. If you do weird stuff and you're like lazy, lethargic, and you don't take care of yourself, and you know, are always putting people down, and you have a bad ego, and let's just say have these bad qualities, like, you know, you say things that you don't mean to people consistent, like those things come out at some point
Eventually.
So if you're looking to build a team, what happens is that a team is then attracted to the leader, right? So you can't be somebody that's looking for a big team and hold all these problems.
True.
Right? You got to start getting, like, it's almost like a cleansing needs to get done, right?
Yeah. There's a famous saying, it's like who you are in one room will eventually come out in another room.
Yeah.
You can only hold it in so long.
Yeah. So how did we, like, recruit a lot of people over time? And I know you've, in your career, is the same thing. Like, it's that we actually worked on ourselves to become people that people want to sit down with.
Right.
And they genuinely look forward to having a conversation with, that wasn't done by accident. There's a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. Like, develop yourself, right? People should want to sit down with you versus others in the same industry. They should want to communicate with you versus others in the same industry. That's just identity. Like, who you are, what you do, how you talk to other people, your communication, it's very little things. So that's an amazing point. Where do you see yourself like 6 months from now, 12 months from now? What's your focus? Where are you headed? Like, what's your
Yeah.
day-to-day thought process?
I think my main objective at this point is we need to go to 1 million points a month as an organization.
Right.
And at the same time, we need to continue to develop more leaders in this business model than we ever have before
Right.
in the next 6 months. So I know that's all that we talk about every single day and nonstop. So I think collectively we have things in force. We just added new staff today. Like,
Yeah.
we're doing crazy stuff that we've never done before to put things in place so that when we do get to those levels, we have the support systems to be able to hold that business and then
Absolutely.
multiply it. So
Right.
it's a loading phase right now, but
Yeah.
it's about to explode.
Explosion phase is coming soon.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jay, for being with us. Appreciate it. And for the listeners, I hope you guys found a ton of value. If you're in our team or, you're associated with us on a daily basis, there's some mentality that, Jaden has on a daily basis on what he's doing, where he's come from and where he's headed. So awesome, Jay. Thank you for your time, brother. Really, really appreciate it. To all the game changers out there, hope you found some value. Make some notes, listen to this over again, like, comment, subscribe. And we got a lot of good stuff coming. Appreciate you guys. Take it easy.